Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Purpose of Live Sports, and I'm back here this morning for another NBA video. So yesterday, Game 2 of the NBA Finals. To me, it was another great display of great basketball on both sides, but Golden State did prevail. They won 109-104. It was, to me, last night was really a game of defense really for Golden State, and a game of one run can turn a whole game or series around. And I think Golden State really, I wouldn't say needed this game. I would say they wanted it more than they needed it, even though a lot of people might say they needed it just in terms of if you go down 2-0, then you have to win at home, which to me, yeah, that's actually true, but they really wanted this game as much as they had to win it. And we really saw last night their championship mentality, the championship resolve, their championship mettle is what people say. And what I call is just their heart. They're wanting to win the game. To me, they just had so much confidence in not only the want, but the belief. I think a lot of times when you believe something and you're confident in something, then things are going to happen. I think that result is going to be accomplished if you believe in something that much. And what I saw so much before Game 2, especially in the press conferences the day before, was that Golden State never wavered in their confidence. They never had any worry or doubt. They believed that they could win this game, and they knew that their first game, they were just rusty. They were off. They didn't play as hard. They got outplayed. And when Golden State knows that, they come back the next game more likely than not, and they play harder, and they go on runs. Golden State, to me, is, I'd say they're two teams. They're a team that can win both ways. They're a team that a lot of times has mental lapses and gets disinterested, but then they can turn it on when they know that they need to. And then there's another team, a team that knows that they have to turn on. Now, this may sound like I'm saying the same team, but they're a team that comes out focused, and sometimes they can they're a team that allows teams to kind of I don't know how to say it. I don't say they let teams just kind of give their best and then they kind of turn it on, but they don't. How about this? They're a team that doesn't overreact when a team goes on runs. Golden State, to me, not only because of their talent, but because, like I said, their belief that it doesn't matter how many points we're down, it doesn't matter what situation we're in, it doesn't matter how much time's on the clock. They have a belief that in any situation they can come back and win the game. And when they went on that 18-0 run in the third quarter, I think we saw that team where it didn't matter that they were down 12, 15. I think they were down 12 points in the first half, because Toronto, people aren't going to say this, but Toronto went on their own run to really extend their lead. But Golden State, they kept fighting, and they went down by 5 at the half, and then they just clicked. It turned on. Steph Curry got going, especially at the end of the second half, which was great for him, because last night's game, I think he was sick and he was suffering from dehydration. But Steph Curry got going. He was making shots. You saw their championship defense when they turn it on, how they can really just stifle what a team does. That Toronto team did not score for the first 5.5 minutes of the third quarter. That's how great their defense is. And what I kind of think people need to start doing is crediting their defense for a lot of what they do, because we want to keep harping on the offense and how they have so many different options because of the ball movement. Well, their defense is just, it's so dynamic, it's so diverse, because to me, they really started the whole switch everything movement where they have all these 5 players on the court who can switch at any time. Draymond Green being that undersized forward who can pretty much switch on to smaller and bigger players, and he can contest shots, he can block shots, he gets steals, timely steals. And even though he does foul, a lot of times he makes sure to foul where a guy doesn't get an and one. That's how smart of a defender he is. That's why Draymond Green, to me, is a perennial all-defensive first team, second team guy, because he's always in position on defense to make plays. And if we're going to go to the fundamentals last night, a lot of what Golden State did was it just went back to their ball movement. Klay Thompson got going early. He had 25 points before he exited with a hamstring strain. I'm pretty sure he'll be fine. He's probably going to play Wednesday night, because to me, Klay Thompson's just not a guy who's going to sit out no matter what injury it is. He could have a broken foot and he's going to want to play. Because what I like about this team is they're just guys who want to play basketball. They're guys who just want to compete. So it just all last night was there wasn't really to me any game plan difference. To me, it was the same game as game one, except Golden State played with heart, and even though they scored the same amount of points in game one as they did in game two. Their defense stepped up, and what kind of people need to stop. I think people need to look at it this way. Even though Golden State only scored 3 points in the final 5 minutes, well, think about what they did on defense. They only limited the Toronto Raptors to what? I don't know how many points in the final 5 minutes as well. So when you're not scoring, the best thing you can do is make sure that your opponent is not getting up great shots. And they got within 2. Yes, Toronto did do that. But they made sure that was the closest that they got. They made sure that they did not tie the game, take the lead. Golden State played excellent defense to me in the final 2 quarters. Actually, the final 2 quarters in last 5 minutes of the second quarter is when their defense really stepped up. And Toronto shot 37% from the field, which it's just excellent defense on both sides. You had Kevon Looney, who's their best switch center, besides Draymond Green, who went down. You had Clay, like I said, who went down with his injury. Andre Iguodala's not 100%. DeMarcus Cousins not 100%. DeMarcus Cousins had 11 points, 10 rebounds, and he had 6 assists playing 28 minutes, which is the most minutes he's played because he's only been back like the last 2 games because he missed 14 straight games with that torn quad. So what this team has is not only the heart, the belief, and the confidence. Is they have guys who in big moments have to step up. Quinn Cook had 9 points off the bench when he hit those 3 threes. Quinn Cook is a guy, to me, who's very underrated for this team because a lot of times in big moments, we've seen him step up and just take over. Because this team's role players, they believe that they know their role. Everybody on this team knows their role. They know what they have to do, and they know when to step up. They know that they have to play together. Steph Curry, did he have a great game? No. And a lot of times I've seen in the finals, Steph Curry has at least one bad game in every final series. But to me, all superstars have at least one off game or one bad game. Kawhi Leonard had a bad game last game, but they won, so it's not being talked about. But to me, it's just like I said, there's not much I can say about the game plan because to me, it's the same thing. One thing I do say is that Steph Curry was played in a box one, which a box one is where there's 4 players. 5 players are always playing defense, but there's one guy guarding the point guard. So Fred VanVleet most of the night was guarding Steph Curry out beyond the 3-point line. So the box one is where there's the rest of the 4 guys are at the box inside the paint. So each in the paint there's like 4 corners, right? All guys are in the corners of the paint. There's one guy stretched out top making sure to basically deny and make it hard for the guy to catch the ball. They played that all night. Steph Curry called it a janky defense, but the reason why I called it janky is because that's a high school defense. They're playing a high school / college defense on Steph Curry because Steph Curry's that dangerous. They're going to make sure that they limit Steph Curry's impact on the game. Did it work? I say to a certain extent that yes, it did. Because Steph Curry was not able to go off like he did in game 1, and he only had 19 points. But to me, much of that was due to the fact that he was not 100%. He was not feeling well. He was under the weather, basically. I don't know if it was a flu or if he had bad chili. I really don't know what happened, but I think more details are going to come out in the next few days. I think one thing you can really take away from this is that as they go back to Oakland for games 3 and 4, I don't say Toronto hasn't lost their confidence, but I think they know that they cannot take their foot off the gas when they're up against Golden State. And I think Golden State knows is that it does not matter what it is, we can come back against this team. As good as this team is, Golden State, now that they have film, they know the cracks in this team. They know what to exploit. And last night before the game, I didn't think starting DeMarcus Cousins was a great idea, but I see why they had to because they need that. To me, not only Draymond's is a good post entry, but DeMarcus Cousins is a great post entry because he can turn and spin. He's a great post move player. He's got all these moves in the post, and not only was he great on offense, his defense was excellent too. I think he's an underrated defender in that he doesn't get a lot of the stats, and people say he's not great in pick and roll defense, but in terms of locking down the paint, he's a great guy because of how big his body is, and he takes up a lot of space. So starting him against Marc Gasol was great because Marc Gasol not only I don't know how many points Marc Gasol had or rebounds, but he took Marc Gasol out of the game last night. He rendered him basically ineffective. I'm pretty sure I heard Serge Ibaka had 10 rebounds, but did he score? I don't think he scored. So, well, he did have a few tip-ins, so I think he had 4 points. So this game was great for Golden State because it showed that all these guys can have a great impact, and to me, everybody did a great job of playing in their role and doing what they had to do. Golden State's defense is really going to be the talk, and it's really the story of this game. In order for Golden State to really, complete what they have to do, their defense has to play on this level every single game. Now, for Kevin Durant, do I know when he's going to come back? I do not know that. Do I think he can come back by Game 3? I think he can because there's 2 days in between, which Game 3 is on Wednesday. Do I think he can get one practice in by Wednesday? I think he do. I probably think Tuesday will probably be the day that he probably practices his first game. But if he doesn't practice, then Game 4 to me is probably going to be the game that he actually comes back. All signs are actually pointing to Game 4, even though he did get some on-court work before. Game 2, sorry about that. Clay is going to have an MRI today. It's yet to be announced, but I don't... Look, Warriors have injuries, but to me, the reason why I really enjoy this team is because they don't complain about things. They don't over-exaggerate. They don't get overly dramatic. So they're so composed. They've been in the situation. When you win multiple championships, this is what you gain the experience. You know all the situations. You've been through it all. This team, they're ready for this moment. They want this. So that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you guys for listening to this. This is my breakdown on Game 2 of the Finals. The Warriors have tied the series. It's going back to Oakland. I will say that as great, the Toronto crowd was great because the energy they brought was excellent. But Oracle Arena, to me, is just a different atmosphere. People are going to say they might not be the same because they've been to the finals 5 straight years. I don't think this crowd's going to take this for granted. And I think they're going to be loud. It's going to be loud in Oracle Arena. As great as Golden State's been on the road, there's something about being at home in the finals. And to me, this crowd's going to show up when they're going to show up at home. This is going to be this has been already a great series, but the series is only getting started. So, once again, thank you guys for listening. If I find out any more news, I will be back at you guys again today. Thank you guys for listening. This is Perfect German Live Sports, and I'm out of here.